I am Anthony Fanelli, and today I will be doing a presentation over how AI can benefit biology students. This was for my honors contract, so I'm currently taking general biology, and me and the professor came up with the idea of me doing some research into AI because I'm a computer science major, but I've always kind of had an interest in biology. It's always been classes I've enjoyed have been kind of life science classes. So we figured that we could combine the two, and I could do some research into how AI and its recent kind of evolution can help benefit biology students to help them study or whatever else it might be. So just kind of diving right into this, what is AI? AI stands for artificial intelligence. This is specifically any kind of wide range of programs that are designed to adapt and learn. There are many different types. Many of you have probably heard of like deep learning algorithms, different things like that. They're all under the blanket term of artificial intelligence, which is just, as stated before, programs that are designed to like adapt and learn as more input is added. So as you keep throwing in more pictures or you keep throwing in more information or whatever it is, the data, it should keep learning and like adapt its output each time. And as I've kind of put in there as well, this is a newer field in computer science. It's not that new. Like you'll still find AI programs 20, 30 years old, obviously nowhere near as capable as the ones available today. But November of last year, 2020, was about the big shift because that was when ChatGPT came out, and the average person was able to see just how like far ahead and how advanced this technology currently is. So it's newer in the fact that it's gotten a lot of more attention recently. And AI can help in so many places. It can help condense information. It can look for patterns, searching, sorting. So normal coding programs can really only do like very tangible things, like look through this program and count how many times you find this instance, or things that are like very like math oriented. They aren't good at like creative things because generating new ideas is sort of something like inherently intelligent, hence where kind of the term artificial intelligence is. It's hard to come up with a program to generate ideas on how to raise sales. That's kind of hard, but calculate our sales. That's a lot easier for a computer to do because it's a lot more kind of math tangible. So AI is huge in a lot more of the creative ways, especially for studying and different things like that. So can it help in the education sector is kind of the question I sought to answer. As right now, for anyone that's been reading the news or has been looking at all or talked to any teachers about AI or ChatGPT specifically, it's a very controversial topic for educators. I've heard some people say that like ChatGPT should be used by all teachers and that if you're not using it right now, you're going to be left behind. And I've heard other people say that they almost wish it never existed and that they think that no student should use it. So it's very controversial, and I'll kind of go through that. So what is ChatGPT? I know I've kind of brought it up before, but ChatGPT is probably the most well-known available AI program right now. Anyone can get on it. You can just look up ChatGPT and get on their website. You do have to make an account, but it's super easy, and once you make one, you have unlimited access to it. But there's also other ones that exist. There's Google Bard. That one came out a couple months ago. They did like a little soft launch for it, but then they ended up opening it up, and so now anyone can use it. And then Snapchat AI has one that's also really popular. Any user with Snapchat, it's automatically at the top, and you can always talk to it and ask it questions, different things like that. But ChatGPT was released in November last year, so it's just a little over a year old, and it functions with a command line interface. So it's kind of like a Google search where you just type in whatever it is you want to know or whatever it is you want to ask or tell it or whatever it might be, and it will spit back out whatever it comes up with, whatever response it has to whatever it is that you said to it. And so it has many uses. According to ChatGPT, I asked ChatGPT what it's good for, and it gave me a list of about 11 things, but I kind of condensed it down It says it can retrieve information, it can provide assistance, it can generate new ideas, and it can even help in learning and education. It gave a lot more, but those were kind of the most substantial ones that I put on there. And how I like to describe ChatGPT, it's very similar to a Google search, but in a lot more of a conversational format. So whereas you would look up on Google, you might look up like, give me some information on cats, and it will give you a ton of different websites about these kind of cats from cat.com, or you might get one from a different website, whatever it might be, and you click on each one. So Google maybe gives you the information, but doesn't directly give it to you. It more gives you the links to other places that might have the information, where if you were to ask ChatGPT a question, it would just give you an answer as if you asked another person. And I'll kind of show more examples of that. So it gives more of a dialogue as opposed to just like a factual statement like Google does sometimes, or like links to other places. So this could potentially help students a lot easier, as it's almost like talking to another person, as that's kind of how we learn best. Obviously, we're very social creatures. That's why all teaching is done pretty much through conversation. So it could potentially be really beneficial to students in that way. So moving on, here are just some examples. So retrieving information, I asked it, what is the capital of Rhode Island? And the capital of Rhode Island, USA, is Providence. So just answered it outright, kind of a little more conversational instead of just saying Providence, period. It gave it to me in a little bit more of a talking way. It can provide assistance. So if you have a math problem that you don't understand very well, like I put in here, can you help me solve 4x minus 2 equals 6? And not only does it just spit out the answer x equals to 2, it also describes how to do it. So it like provides that assistance. So, hey, let's add 2 to both sides. All right, now let's get rid of that 4 and divide each side by 4. All right, and this simplifies x equals to 2. So it takes that extra step to help you understand and to help you kind of grasp it, which is especially beneficial kind of within a learning setting. Obviously, it's a lot more beneficial to explain how you got to the answer as opposed to just outright telling somebody the answer. Other things it can do, generate new ideas. This is probably what it's most popular for, or at least in like kind of pop culture, or where you'll see it in a lot of media, like on Instagram or different things like that. You'll mainly find it through people, I asked AI to make me a new recipe for whatever it might be. Here I put in, give me a new recipe for peanut butter cookies. And it just generates one on the fly. So it kind of takes the best. It takes all the inputs. It probably reads a lot of other recipes and then kind of creates one on its own. Some of them are really good. You'll see people, ChatGPT helped me make a cake, and here's what it tasted like. And a lot of people will talk about how it can be really good, and some will talk about recipes that aren't very good because it's just kind of taking a guess based on other ones. But it's just kind of a cool thing that it's able to generate one completely on the fly, instead of just spitting out one that already exists that somebody already created somewhere. And then it can also help with education as well. This kind of goes along with the gathering information, but here I just asked, give me some major battles of the Revolutionary War and tell me about them. And so it kind of gives me a little bit of information on the Revolutionary War, and then it kind of goes through each of the battles. Lexington and Concord kind of tells you a little bit about that. Nothing too in-depth, but just like a good thing just to help you learn. Bunker Hill, Saratoga, different battles like that. So you can pretty much ask it anything. I was just thinking of different education topics and going through those as well to find some good examples. So moving on, here's some pros for how ChatGPT can help in the classroom. So there are a lot of different benefits that I found to encouraging students to use it. Obviously, you can't really force them to use it, at least outside of the classroom, but you definitely can kind of benefit students or encourage students to use it. The first one is re-explanations. This one is kind of an obvious one. Us humans we all have our own kind of brain and our own kind of learning pattern. We don't all learn in the same way, and sometimes we might need stuff described to us in another way. That's why some teachers might help certain students and other teachers might help others. there really is no one-size-fits-all approach to teaching. So it's good to have a lot of options because if something is explained to a student, they might not understand it. So it's good for them to just be able to ask. And obviously, there's no judgment with ChatGPT. There's no like worry. The student can just ask it and have no worry because they're asking a program. So they can ask it whatever they want. If there's even one small thing that they might feel stupid that they don't understand, it's good that they can just ask, and they can get concepts re-explained to them. And you can even ask it like, hey, can you explain this to me in easier terms? And it can do that as well, which is nice. It can also be used as a study aid. So you can have it, hey, ChatGPT, help me generate flashcards for cell organelles. And it can, all right, here you go. Mitochondria, other side, powerhouse of the cell. Ribosome, generate protein. Different things like that, protein synthesis. It can also quiz you on subjects, which I'll kind of show off a little bit later as well. And it can just answer any miscellaneous questions that you have. So, like, what is the final acceptor in the electron transport chain? It can, oh, here you go, here's the answer. And it can just tell you straight up. So, although it is kind of similar to Google, Google can do the same thing. This does it in a lot more of like a conversational way. It might also explain why oxygen is the final acceptor and like what the different things of that are. So, beneficial in that way as well. It's good being a resource assistant or research assistant. You can ask it a question, hey, is this right? And it can just outright tell you true or false, and kind of give you some explanations as to why, which is really nice. You don't have to worry about digging through all sorts of websites trying to figure out. You can just ask it and it will tell you straight up. And the other really big thing too is 24/7 access. Obviously, we all have kind of busy days, especially college students, especially grad students, people like that. They might all be busy during the day, and when they work on homework and when they might need help or like need to ask a professor something, it might be outside of office hours, it might be outside of normal work hours, and the teacher might not see it. So it's really beneficial for a student to just be able to at any time look it up. Obviously, Google is also 24 hours as well, but this just has a little bit more of a human conversational touch, which just helps a little bit more and takes away a lot of the like searching and hunting it for yourself, like going through different websites. Sometimes it's hard to find different pieces of information, so it's nice to have ChatGPT just be able to bundle it all up into one. So some examples, here's a re-explanation. So I just asked outright, what is Lenz's law, which is a concept you learn in physics, and it just kind of describes it to you. Electromotive force in closed circuits in such a direction that it opposes the charge or the cause which produces it, and then kind of goes forward to explain the equation, different things like that. And here's an example of it being used as a research assistant as well. So I just kind of asked it a question that like not even humans know, just to see what it would say. So why do you believe humans dream? And it gives you a couple different things. It first obviously says it doesn't have personal beliefs, but it can provide some information based on what is known. So memory consolidation, emotional processing, problem solving and creativity, etc. It gave about 9 different reasons why it thinks why, which is just kind of cool to be able to show that although it isn't intelligent on its own, it can still kind of come up with some ideas based on information fed to it. So it is a really good research assistant for that as well. Moving on for how it can be used as a study aid. So here I had it generate a mock test, so I just asked it about to give me a English test based around historical authors. So it will just ask a lot of different questions. Which English playwright and poet is often referred to as the Bard of Avon and wrote classics like Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet? Obviously that'd be Shakespeare, and it generates as many questions as you ask it to. It does about 10 each time, but if you want it to be longer, it can be longer. And it's really easy. I'll show a little bit later another one too. It's really good at taking back in your answers as well, which some other AIs that I've used are not as good at that. And you can also use it as flashcard generator. So I just asked it, hey, generate me some flashcards over physics formulas. And all right, Newton's second law, force equals mass times acceleration. Gravitational force equals the gravity versus mass 1, mass 2. So it's really nice. It just has a lot of different things. You don't have to worry about coming up with them on your own. You can just ask it to generate you some, and it'll tell you what to put on the front and back, which this has been really helpful. I've used that quite a bit, which is nice. So here are some cons for using ChatGPT in the classroom, and here is why it's a very controversial topic, because everything I've talked about so far has pretty much been a benefit, but these drawbacks can be pretty extreme at times. The first one is that ChatGPT is not infallible. Obviously, you'll hear a million times that anything you read on the internet is not always true. Most of the time, what you read is false, especially depending on different types of information. Some things you can depend on it being true, but a lot of what you read is not true. And ChatGPT, a lot of its inputs do come from the internet. So it sometimes doesn't know the right thing, even if it has the best intentions, and even if it has a lot of information on the subject, sometimes it just might not be right. And it may completely show it to you as this is 100% factual, even if it's not. Although it does get better with each update. I believe they're on ChatGPT 4 right now, so it updates quite frequently. I mean, it's only been out for a year. So they do get better with each update, but it is well known for just trying to pass off incorrect information as factual quite a bit. Also, ChatGPT can be used to do a student's homework. This is probably the thing that gets most teachers upset, because it can be used to write full-on essays. I've talked to other students that have said that they've generated 4-page essays, turned it in, didn't even change a word, and got an A on it. Which obviously is a pretty big deal, as a 4-page essay is a lot of work for a student, so it is unfair for students that didn't use it to get a worse grade from somebody who just typed in something on ChatGPT and got a full essay generated. Although it may or may not be plagiarism, that's also an interesting discussion to bring into the matter. Where did ChatGPT get the information, and where did it get those words? Like, did it plagiarize to generate that essay? So there's a lot of different things about that. Also, too, if you have math homework, you could just put in solve this, like I did earlier with the solve 4x minus 2 equals 8, or whatever it was, equals 6, and it just does it for you. So obviously that can benefit students a little bit, depending on how they use it. So if they use it in a way to where, hey, help me learn this, and you're trying to go through with it, then that's good. But if you're just generate me an essay, or tell me the answer for this, then obviously that's not going to benefit the student at all. And it's going to take away from learning. As if you heavily rely on ChatGPT, it's going to impair your ability to develop critical thinking, which is basically the entire reason we have education to begin with. A lot of people always wonder why as a art major do I have to learn science, or why as a med student, why do I have to learn math or algebra or whatever it might be? And that's because the whole point of education is to try and teach you how to think critically, no matter what the field is, and to kind of have a general understanding of everything. And if you're relying on a machine to do all of your homework for you, then the entire point of education just gets lost. So that's where the controversialness comes from with ChatGPT. And you usually hear a lot more of the bad than the good. They even have entire programs out right now. Some are accurate, some are not. It is really kind of hard to figure it out, but there are programs that exist that will read essays and will tell you if it believes it's AI generated or not. And those have gotten a lot of attention as well, for students getting caught for using AI generated essays, and for students getting in trouble for getting caught having an AI essay when it wasn't. Like, they wrote it, but it was the program was wrong. And there it's really hard to tell as well, because if someone writes as an AI speaks, we're all different, so you never know. So that's kind of the tough thing as well. You can't really figure out who's doing it and who's not with 100% certainty, which is also kind of where the controversialness of it comes from. So moving on, here are some of the examples. So here's just an example of it being wrong. So I asked it, How many countries start with the letter V? And it just says 2. There's actually 4. So as you can see, Vietnam and Vatican City, very well-known countries that start with the letter V, and it just forgets them. And it sounds decently confident as well. There are 2 countries whose names start with the letter V. Although at the end it does say it's a good idea to check, but Vietnam and Vatican City have been around for a while. So I don't know. It's not like it's anything controversial. It's not like there's any conflicting information about them not existing. I'm pretty sure everyone acknowledges those countries as existing. So it's very interesting how it just presents that and forgets them. I actually asked this question to it 2 days ago. So that's where the screenshot comes from. I asked it that a couple of days ago. I actually asked it that again this morning, and it told me there were 3 countries, and it gave me Venezuela, Vatican City, and Vietnam. So it took out the other one that was in there, which is really funny. So it changes its answer, and it's still wrong, but it does show that it's learning and it's getting a little bit better, but it's just interesting. So it can be wrong. And also, here's like a homework replacement. So I asked it, generate me an essay on John F. Kennedy's presidency, and it generated one. Obviously, it was a lot longer than that, and but I couldn't get that whole thing in the screenshot. But it just output something, and it sounds good. Like, it sounds like something somebody would say. John F. Kennedy, often remembers for his initials JFK, served as the 35th president of the United States. And it just kind of goes on and labels the different things about him. So I'm impressed. Like, it does good work. So there's just another thing where it's kind of hard to tell. That sounds like something somebody would write. So you never know with papers. So some of my personal experience, I used it throughout the year to help me study with general biology. I used it in a variety of ways, and most of the things I mentioned in the pros side. And personally, with my experience, what I liked the most about it, my number one thing that I liked was the practice quizzes. There are 4 major tests in this class based on the 4 modules that we have kind of it broken up into throughout the semester, all the information. And before each test, I would ask it, like, generate me a quiz based on mitosis. And it would, all right, what stage of mitosis does this happen in? What is prophase? And it asks you, and you type it in, and it'll tell you if you're right or wrong, and it'll help you with the different things you got wrong. And it's really nice, and it's really beneficial to have. And then the flashcards as well. I use that, like, generate me flashcards based on the organelles, and it's, all right, mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell. And that was really nice to have. Some of the things I didn't like so much about this was the explanations, because the explanations were not much different from the ones that confused me to begin with. So, like, the electron transport chain, that's the example I'll kind of show later. It basically just respits out what was already in the online book, and didn't really make it that much easier to digest and understand. So here's the different things I like. So the tests. So I asked it, give me a test on the cellular organelles. And so you can kind of see, it asked me 10 different questions. Which organelle is the control center? And then you can see down here, I answered them all, and I just answered them in a very easy way. Just 1, nucleus, 2, mitochondria, 3, ribosome, 4, lysosome. Just kind of went through them. And then here's what it gave me once I typed that in. So nucleus, correct. The nucleus is the control center. And then for anyone, endoplasmic reticulum, partially correct. It is responsible for packaging and transporting, or the organelle responsible for packaging and transporting is the Golgi complex, but the endoplasmic reticulum is involved in synthesis. So even if you do get one wrong, or here partially correct, it'll explain what, like, the actual answer it was looking for was. So this is especially beneficial before any tests, because it helps quite a bit. Because it's good at generating stuff similar to what you would see on a real test. So what I disliked, so as I kind of talked about the explanation, so I just said, I'm having a tough time with the understanding the electron transport chain. Can you explain it to me in a way that would help me understand? And so it's, all right, here's a step-by-step. but then it kind of goes through cellular respiration is the breakdown of glucose through glycolysis and the citric acid cycle. These processes produce high energy electron carriers, including NADH and FADH2. So it still uses a lot of those like complex words. It doesn't really break stuff down into an easier level. It still is a little tough to understand. So it does help, and it probably could help for some people, but for me, every time I asked it a question like, hey, help me understand this, I was pretty much as confused as I was when I went in there, and would have to look for other resources. So that was the only thing that I didn't like a whole lot about it, but still, it wasn't bad. It didn't like hurt me. It just didn't help me as much. So there's that. In conclusion, all in all, ChatGPT, it's completely up to professors whether they want to encourage students to use it or not. They can't fully ban it, or they can't fully make everyone do it, obviously, outside of class, because you don't have much control over that. But encouraging it, how much professors want their students to use it, is kind of up to them. But also, AI is a Pandora's box. It's not going to go anywhere. Now that it exists, and there's lots of different competing versions of it, as I said, there's ChatGPT, there's Google Bard, there's Snap AI, there's all these different ones. No teacher can say we're never using it, because obviously you can't control that once the student leaves the classroom. So although you don't have to fully embrace it, it is a Pandora's box, and it's probably not going to go away. And as I've said before, a lot of people have argued for schools to adapt, just because AI can be a very beneficial tool. So I've heard people say, at least with the argument on, oh, well, it can be used to do students' homeworks. I've heard people say, well, then we need to change what different assignments and homeworks are so that ChatGPT can help out. Like, I've heard a lot of people suggesting that schools should be a lot more, or assignments should be a lot more based on like oral communication now, or oral speeches, because ChatGPT can't speak for you. You're going to have to go up and do it. So that benefits, or that shows the teacher your mental understanding of it, your way of communicating with it. And especially in our world, it's becoming a lot more complex, where there's a lot more high-skilled jobs out there. It's good to kind of grow our knowledge of communication. So I've heard a lot of people arguing that it could be beneficial to change the homeworks and assignments to mirror that. But now all there's really left to do is wait. We're kind of at the dawn of it right now. As I said, it came out just over a year ago, and it's starting to catch on a little bit as time goes on, just a little more and a little more and a little more. So we'll see. You never know. It could be huge, or it could go away. You just never know with different pieces of technology. As I said, it's only been around for about a year, so it could be one of those boom and bust things, or it could be something that's here to stay and completely changes the world. So all there's really left to do is wait. And I'm interested to see how it goes. So this has been a really fun project all semester, and I do feel like it's benefited me. As I kind of showed, the mock tests, they helped a lot. I feel like they helped me score a lot higher on my tests. So I really enjoyed this project, and I hope you all had a good time reading this as well and found it interesting. So thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you all.